Well, it's been an exhausting 3 hours, auditioning all of the people who we've had in front of us for our grand prize. But I think I feel pretty comfortable in saying that I have finally found a winner.
Okay.
And I'm going to present them right now to all of you. The Cool Voltaire Family Singers. The Family Cool Voltaire.
They're gone!
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast to bid you so long farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I am the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. We are here today to finally talk about a piece of media, do a case study into a piece of media that many of you have long wanted to hear about.
That's right. We're hitting on a very popular topic that is Christian entertainment.
That's right.
Finally.
Well.
And what better piece of Christian entertainment than the sound of checking my notes.
Oh, yep.
VeggieTales,
Yep.
folks.
This, unlike all the other Christian media you two nerds subject me to, is something that I actively grew up with. A longtime fan of the show and my very good friend Nate Woods introduced me to VeggieTales initially, and we would watch some of the episodes we're talking about today over and over and over again.
So you actually enjoyed it. You weren't just watching it over and over because it was the only thing you had to watch. This is premium. This is on prime rotation.
Well, when I was at Nate's house, yes, when there really wasn't a whole lot else to watch.
Okay, so it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B is what I'm hearing.
And honestly, I remember enjoying VeggieTales immensely up until the points where they're like, God's here too. And I'm like, you've lost me, like almost immediately. But it was a lot of fun. It was bright. It was colorful. It didn't take itself so seriously, which I felt like a lot of the other media that I endured when I was a kid did in quite the same way. And we talked about my experience with VeggieTales, I think, a lot on this podcast. But my question for the two of you that I have not even asked you off mic is, what is your experience with VeggieTales?
So my first experience with VeggieTales was Sunday school kindergarten class. And we had this young Sunday school teacher who was a doctor that worked with my parents. I don't even think he had kids yet. He was just a guy who was good with kids. Sure. So he brought in VeggieTales. I think the first one that I saw was one that we're going to talk about today, God Wants Me to Forgive Them. And for some reason, I wanted to watch more.
God Wants Me to Forgive Them was also the only tape that was in proximity to my upbringing.
Okay.
My grandma had it alongside a couple other videotapes. We rarely watched God Wants Me to Forgive Them because one of the other videotapes included a Goofy movie. So obviously that one was on regular rotation.
Yeah, and my kindergarten teacher had, so this was like 1996. I think he had 3 tapes. I think he had the original 3. So we had the Star Trek parody. We had the first video, Where's God When I'm So Scared? And I remember after seeing it going to my parents, like, after church and being like, we need to get these tapes. Yeah. And from that point on, it was like we always checked the local Bible bookstore, Bread of Life. Whenever they would stock a new VeggieTales, we would get a hold of it. And this was something that we would continue to watch. Like, my dad was the youth leader for a while, so he would show them to the youth group, to the teenagers, because everyone just thought it was cool.
Yes, and that would actually prove to be what made VeggieTales so popular in the first place. It was the fact that older people, older Christian kids, were as into it as the kids themselves were.
Yeah, and like this guy must have been like just out of medical school.
Oh, sure.
Coming into Gallup and just being like, hey, I have these children's videos that I love so much.
When you're in the desert and you come across VeggieTales.
It's an oasis of sorts.
It's fucking manna from heaven. A bread of life, if you will.
I don't believe, though, that we had VeggieTales VHS cassettes at home. We were not.
Well, you didn't have a TV for a while.
We
there.
did have a VCR, though, because
okay.
our family computer had the Macintosh Performance 630 CD had the video capture card in it.
Okay.
And so we were able to plug a VCR into the computer and watch movies on the computer.
Jesus, you were doing everything from like the 23rd century, man.
Yeah.
You were from the future.
Yeah, and you're so 2000 and late. For me, most of my time watching VeggieTales, because again, we didn't watch God Wants Me to Forgive Them because it was not on the level of a Goofy movie.
Absolutely not.
I had a friend whose family had all of the VeggieTales tapes.
Sure.
And so, much like you, AJ, my experience with VeggieTales was primarily watching the tapes at a Christian friend's house.
The creator of VeggieTales is a man named Phil Vischer.
Not Phil Lawler?
No.
Oh, well, I don't trust this then. I'm hoping for someone with real artistic
That's right.
sensibilities.
I mean,
Well, let me tell you about a show called 321 Penguins.
Yes.
Because that's the thing with Phil Lawler, I know what I'm getting myself into. I know what he's going to do. He's going to make me laugh.
I am comfortable with his product.
This guy's going to make me Vish? I'm not interested in that.
He's a vishmonger. So the thing about Phil Vischer is that it's really hard not to be charmed by him until that's sort of how my relationship with this guy, right? Like I think that he is endlessly
because you just
curious.
hate Christians.
I do.
You just hear that someone has a religious belief and you're like, I need to kill them.
I think he got really upset about two aardvarks getting married in a way that, or two anteaters getting married in a way that.
Mr. Ratburn is a rat. It's in the name. I do understand that Arthur gets a little ambiguous with his character
it's
designs.
A little ambiguous.
No, Mr. Ratburn is not ambiguous. I have no idea who he married.
I'm looking it up right now. That man is an aardvark, clearly. So
Ratburn married an aardvark?
looks like it.
Well, those kids are going to be weird.
His name is Patrick.
Oh,
He sells chocolates.
He married an Irish aardvark?
So yeah, I think that Phil Vischer, as opposed to Phil Lawler, is an endlessly curious guy who is very self-effacing, very affable, and actually engages with the broader culture that he exists in.
And enjoys it,
And
right?
enjoys
And
it.
has a lot of raw talent.
Yes.
Like the fact that these guys basically have no idea what they're doing. They should have called the company No Idea, but
Hey,
then they
get 'em.
just figure it out.
Yeah, talent and ambition. He had this idea and had no idea whatsoever on how to execute it, but still managed to go for it.
And there's something about feeling that you have a calling from God that can propel you to throw yourself into situations where you might be throwing yourself into the deep end.
That's true. You might go to Chicago and be
But
on
they have tall buildings and jazz
be
there,
on
Josh.
a mission from God.
Yeah.
You might end up fighting some Illinois Nazis.
Well,
These are
he
the things
actually
that can
does
happen.
You
Go
might
to
have to sleep
Chicago.
in parking lots.
Yeah.
You might make a lot of mistakes.
Don't do this. Don't do this. Yeah, but Phil Vischer actually is born not in Chicago, where he would spend a lot of his life, in Illinois, but in Muscatine, Iowa, which was home to a Heinz ketchup factory. So the streets were just littered with tomatoes. He is also the heir to a tire retreading company named Bandag, which his father worked for his grandfather for a long time. And that's where he was able to get this pretty large ranch that he lived on. It had like a creek out back. It is actually shockingly similar to the origin story of Walt Disney. And Vischer kind of considers himself to be a Disney, right? He always wanted to become like Walt. In his book, he references like the production of Mickey Mouse and about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and the story of how all of that came to be. Like, he's very knowledgeable about the origins of Disney because he studied it, because I think Phil Vischer at his core is just an incredible businessman. So his family was deeply religious. These were the types of folks who would go to church once on Wednesday and twice on Sunday.
Just like me, for real.
Just like me, for real.
Yep. Boy, howdy. That's a lot of time to be at church. I gotta say, there's a lot of bad
It's
things to
3
say about
times.
Catholics, but at least we rip off that Band-Aid once a week.
No, I know for a fact that Catholic churches have mass every single day.
You can, but I mean, who does? Who
Old
does?
ladies.
That's fair.
Listen, here's what I can tell you about Dutch Protestant Wednesday evening church. The potatoes are terrible. And I'm not even joking. Like,
potatoes?
Yeah, they would serve up.
Every Wednesday you had food?
Pretty much every Wednesday, because it was our like midweek meal thing.
Oh,
that was
ours
in tandem.
was like choir practices.
Okay, yeah. No, there was a midweek meal that was in tandem with a lot of the youth ministry stuff.
Sure.
And so the kids would come in for the boys club and girls club where they would like go out and do stuff. But they would serve up this potato dish that to this day remains one of the most disgusting things I have ever had.
Is it primarily mayo? Like, what's going on?
It is primarily like a cheese-based...
cheesy scallops.
Yeah, that's what
potatoes?
I'm picturing is
Yeah.
just scallop potatoes. That's not horrible.
Well, but they were almost raw.
Well, speaking of evil, let's talk about Phil Vischer's great-grandfather, shall we? Let's talk about R.R. Brown.
Oh, was he evil?
He was the first radio preacher in the Midwest.
Yeah,
He
that's
was
what the R's stood for. He's Radio Brown.
Radio Brown. There's something about this man. I would not say that this man in particular was evil. He preached things that I don't necessarily agree with, but he paved the way for some of the most evil people on the planet to take over. Because
Well, he writes all that awful stuff in his Game of Thrones books.
Yeah.
George R.R. Brown.
Phil R.R. Vischer.
Yeah, people don't realize it's George Radio Martin.
That's why it's been taking so long for the next book. He's been writing the radio play adaptation at the same time, and they have two completely different plots. But anyway, R.R. Brown was the first person to get his name both in the Radio Broadcasters Hall of Fame and into the Christian Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He was sort of the godfather of getting services into people's homes who could not go to church, the people who were like stuck at home, for instance.
Basically, the moment radio showed up, you had pastors figuring out how to broadcast sermons.
Yeah.
Like from the very beginning. I mean, even on like a lower level of like a Catholic priest taking over a half hour or something like that. But like you had these guys who were like, my church could be a broadcast studio.
Well, the history of the relationship between Protestant churches in particular and the audio medium is so remarkable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my church, every service would be recorded to cassette tape.
Yep.
And
Oh, wow.
a couple dozen copies of those cassette tapes would be made and then mailed or otherwise distributed to all of the shut-ins who couldn't actually come to church.
My church would broadcast on the radio locally, and I was in the sound booth at church.
Okay.
Which might surprise people because I learned nothing in the many years that I ran sound at that church.
I mean,
but
nobody's going to learn anything about sound working in the sound booth at a church.
unless they later go on to work for Big Idea, I guess. But
Hope you like rooms with an echo.
I had to record every sermon onto mini disc.
Okay.
And they continued recording onto mini disc into the 2010s.
Wow.
Because they bought the whole fucking mini disc system. And then, someone would bring it over to the radio station every week. Churches, ministries, especially evangelicals, adopted technology very, very fast.
Yes.
For radio, for eventually TV, for the internet.
No one ever recorded anything that happened in my Catholic church because nobody should know what happens during those masses. The best we could do was we just had a tin can.
What secrets are you hiding from us?
Let me tell you a little something about transubstantiation. So don't worry about it. So Phil Vischer, growing up, he had some favorite movies, right? His dad was not allowed to go to the movies. That is how strict and conservative they were.
Yes, sir.
So,
That's some good Protestant shit.
in an anecdote that I think is actually very sweet, Phil's dad would take him to see not only Phil's first movies, but also his dad's first movies.
Oh my God, so his dad's first movies were these live action Disney pictures with Dean Jones?
In fact, they saw The Apple Dumpling Gang, other favorites, Hot Lead and Cold Feet, The North Avenue Irregulars, The Shaggy DA, which for my money has the greatest out-of-context clip in all of cinema, where a man in a dog suit punches another man in the face.
You should just watch the movie.
It
You just
feels
need
very
to like
boring.
yeah, of
Nothing's
course it
gonna
is.
hit
It's
that
dog
high.
shit, but
Yeah.
like you need to watch it because you are stealing Shaggy DA valor right now. You don't even get to see like Dick Van Patten mincing for an hour and a half.
The one that he returns to constantly is this film called Gus, which is a film about a mule that kicks field goals really good. And
Disney loved mules. He really loved. He's a Missouri boy.
Yeah, this was 1976.
He kicked football field goals?
Yes.
So this is just Air Bud Golden Receiver before Air Bud Golden Receiver,
Yes.
except he was a kicker rather than a
no,
wide
that's
receiver.
different. Air Bud was real. That was a real dog who could play basketball.
I know.
With
And
all-
football.
This is a fiction.
And there's no subtitle to this, so it's just called Gus. It has all the specificity of John Carter, but it stars, this Gus film stars Ed Asner,
Yeah.
and Don Knotts.
Yes.
So that was a happy memory with Phil Vischer's dad. And now let's get to the bad memory of Phil Vischer's dad. He abandons the family.
Oh, fuck.
And leaves.
See, he shouldn't have gone and seen those movies.
Yeah. From what Vischer describes in his book, his dad was really miserable working for his own father, and he runs away and moves out of state with one of his female coworkers. Here's a quote from his book, Me, Myself, and Bob, about the lesson that he took away from that incident.
Divorce in America, even in the church, has become painfully common. But does that make it less painful? I don't think so. Just as I don't believe a random bullet to a sleeping child in a violent inner-city neighborhood will hurt any less or do any less damage than a bullet to an upper-class child in a wealthy suburb. The latter will surely garner more press attention and community outrage, but both kids are equally hurt. My father walked away from his family and his faith that day. The message I internalized, whether I knew it at the time or not, was this: the people that mean the most to you will leave. That message would impact my friendships, my marriage, even my company for years to come, and in ways I could never imagine. Fear that those I valued most would abandon me, coupled with an overwhelming desire to fill the hole in my life where my father had been, would become recurring themes in my story for nearly 30 years.
So, where does one turn when one is alone and scared, facing a world where you will most likely be abandoned by those you love most? Well, you turn to God, of course, which leads us to our first episode of VeggieTales. Where's God when I'm scared?
I want to be very clear, AJ. The title of this video is Where's God When I'm Scared?
Thank you, Josh. That was a horrible exaggeration, AJ. Libelous, even.
Scared is there's
It's
one
only
S.
one S before
there's
scared.
two.
Well,
I'm setting you up for a Scooby-Doo episode as opposed to an episode of VeggieTales.
Right. Where's God When I'm Scared is written by Phil Vischer. It's directed by Phil Vischer and Chris Olsen, and this receives its first independent release. They press 500 tapes and send them out in December of 1993. It'll end up getting a wider scale release, which we'll talk about later, to just Christian bookstores everywhere by Word Entertainment under its Everland imprint in October 1994.
For most people, you have seen a reprint of it. Even
Yes.
if you saw a tape of it early on, those first 500 were just mailed directly to customers. I actually had to go online. I was really curious about the opening montage.
Right.
Because when they re-release it, they throw in stuff from later videos.
Right.
And I was like, well, they only made this first video on its own. So I tried to find like the oldest copy I could.
There's a recording on the archive.
Someone uploaded something from the original dub of 500 tapes. And not only is the montage just clips from that same video,
Right.
but there's also no broccoli, celery, gotta be, cauliflower, sweet and sour, half an hour.
It's all gone.
You're just hearing the background chorus for that whole song.
Yeah, and even when they start recutting it with new clips, it will always end with Larry passing out and shooting flowers out of
and
the
the
tuba.
generic child laughter sound that you've heard on public television.
And in my nightmares.
Let's talk about this opening, shall we? Because it's actually a bizarrely artistic opening. It is a fade up to a white blank screen.
Yeah, and we get the titles kind of appearing over the sort of quiet image. Yeah.
And all we hear for the first 15 seconds is this voiceover.
Okay, Larry, it's time for the theme song.
Yeah, Bob. What do I do?
Let's see. I know. You play the guitar.
Bob, I don't have any hands.
Oh, you're right. Well, okay. Well, you play this.
I don't want to play that. I'll look silly.
Oh, come on. It'll be fun.
Nope. Not gonna do it.
It's for the kids.
Oh, okay. But they better not laugh.
All right. Better get on out there.
The titles stop, and Larry, the cucumber, pops in wearing a sousaphone.
If you like to talk to tomatoes, if a squash can make you smile, if you like to waltz with potatoes, up and down the produce aisle. Have we got a show for you?
I remember the way that Bob would like get big when we have Do We Have a Show for You always made me laugh
forward. Yeah.
Because already just from this bit, before they've even started singing the theme song, the show has done a phenomenal job of establishing tone.
Yeah, they're basically pulling from the Muppets, right? It's like these vegetables are putting on a variety show, but it's also a little out of control. They don't have everything locked down, and anything could happen.
They are figuring it out as they go along. There is sort of an improvisational or perhaps even improvident nature to this affair.
God is guiding these proceedings.
Right. And it's like Bob the Tomato functions a lot like Kermit does in the Muppet Show, right? He is a control freak who's trying to get this whole thing under control, but he can't because he has Larry next to him.
That's right.
Who is a very sweet, very well-meaning dumb boy.
That's right.
Yeah. We also have a good joke built around a reveal. Larry's like, I'm going to look ridiculous wearing this. He comes out. He sure does look ridiculous.
He looks absolutely
He's a cucumber and a sousaphone.
Yeah.
We have also been able to establish 30 seconds of no animation.
Yes.
We are already half of a minute in to our 30 minutes, and we haven't had to animate a single thing.
Yeah, and a fun fact about that sousaphone is that it was played on a tuba that was like a child's tuba that the music director, Kurt Heinecke, took from the elementary school where he had a job, because he was the church music director, right? So they brought him on to do it, and they did this in the back room of an arcade where they had their office that they had just sort of makeshift soundproofing all over the walls, and they just heard him do take after take after take because he could not play the tuba. And so when you listen to Larry play the sousaphone in this,
it sounds bad.
It sounds bad because Larry is bad at playing it.
That's the first of our like church relationships.
Yes.
Kurt Heinecke was their music director at church, and Phil Vischer and his wife Lisa can, and Mike Nawrocki actually, they can all hum a tune.
Sure.
They can figure out like a song and write lyrics for it. They're all actually quite talented in that regard. But in order to do arrangements and scoring and all that stuff, they go to him.
Broccoli, celery, gotta be.
Lisa Vischer was a music major before she dropped out of college. She was a talented singer, and so much of her vocal performances, I think, are what make VeggieTales what it is.
Yeah.
But like the music is really integral to all of this, and they have a whole bunch of people who can sing quite well in character voices.
Yeah.
And that ends up being literally a godsend.
And the opening really frames up, as you were saying, Brian, exactly what the show is going to be, that it's sort of Muppet Show adjacent. After this opener, which just kind of exists to establish, I guess, the humor and the tone of the show, now we get Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber sitting on a kitchen countertop. Everything that connects this show together is going to be Bob and Larry in the kitchen. And they're here to field your questions.
Hi, kids, and welcome to VeggieTales. I'm Bob the Tomato,
And I'm Larry the Cucumber.
and we're here to answer your questions.
That's right.
Now, today we've got a letter from Lucy Anderson of Phoenix, Arizona, who writes,
Dear Bob and Larry, I am 6 years old. Sometimes I think there are monsters in my closet. That makes me real scared. Can you help me?
Ooh, I remember once I thought there were monsters in my closet.
Yeah, well, what happened, Larry?
Well, it turned out that they weren't really monsters at all. Just my fluffy bunny slippers. And they're not so scary, just kind of squishy.
Oh, I see. Well, Lucy Anderson, first check to see if it's just your slippers. And then watch this story about when Junior Asparagus got a little bit scared.
It's funny to hear it with headphones on with no visual, because you can hear every time they've cut out the audio.
Yeah.
And you can hear their fingers like messing with the pages of their script.
It's crude is the only way you can describe this audio.
Lewd, crude, and rude.
That's goddamn right, Brian.
Well, especially compared to fucking Odyssey, right? Like the amount of times I was just sitting here being like, God, this really is an underdog story in a way that like Odyssey always had the funding a focus on the family.
To the point of like why Adventures in Odyssey still sounds better, even before the production is there. They have recording facilities. They are an established operation. They have the gear. They have the tech.
Yeah, they're building on what they already have in-house.
They don't have any room tone. That's the thing that's always weirded me out about VeggieTales, is that when they're not talking, the world is silent.
Yeah. And this is also a great example of like people who are working in CGI knowing what's going to look good. Right. This is why Toy Story is about toys, or why there was a short about a lamp. The lamp looks good. These textures look, I mean, there's not even texture mapping for most of this. It's just like Larry and everything else is flat colors. And it's a convincing, it's not ugly kitchen counter with tiles, with these shiny things, with vegetables. They all feel very alive. And you can watch CGI productions from 10, 15, 20 years later that are much more misguided and make ugly looking shit.
I mean, this is 2 years before Toy Story.
Yep.
Just to give you a sense of where we are right now in time with the development of CG animation.
The idea was that all of these figures would be encased in a lattice, in a cage.
Yeah.
And as you move parts of the lattice, that would move the corresponding parts of the actual design itself.
Essentially, it was a way to simplify the squishing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Essentially. So they're bouncy and they're squishy the whole way through.
And they also needed to figure out a way to make the eyes pop, right? So instead of making them just like perfect circles, he made them oblong.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they look incredibly endearing.
They're oblong and their eyelids are always present. And that's something that I noticed with like the Netflix version of VeggieTales is they went kind of a more traditional cartoony look.
Oh, and they don't have
like,
the eyelids
They
anymore?
don't have eyelids.
Well, then it doesn't look
and
like
that's
VeggieTales.
the first thing where you're like, hold on, this looks too Disney.
So with that letter from the child out of the way, we
that
brought,
very real child.
That's
yes.
right, a very real child from Arizona.
Yeah. Who's writing them letters? They don't even have a show yet.
I think this is so funny. Just like as a conceit, this is really funny to me.
Right, it is playing on a language that Christian media enjoyers would know.
Sure,
right?
but also public, like this is what
like Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers
too.
does this, but like the Magic School Bus.
Yep.
Those kids
Yeah.
weren't real.
No,
they were
they certainly
animated.
were
They're
not.
not calling Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Junior Asparagus, our every child. He's watching a scary show.
Ooh.
This by the way, there's an intertitle between these things. Big Idea Productions presents Tales from the Crisper.
Yeah, every segment is treated as its own thing and even has its own credit roll at the end.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we shouldn't. This is dumb.
We don't need to do this.
Again, they're on TV.
They're
or something.
figuring it out as they go along.
Yeah.
Junior is watching a very scary show. It's Frankencelery. This negatively impacts his mental health.
This is really clever. Like the idea of presenting something scary that's not actually going to be scary. Because when you're a little kid, like anything can be scary. I remember my dad watching Young Frankenstein, and I was watching it with him, and we had started. It was like on TV at the point where Igor breaks into the lab and tries to steal the brains.
This was well after the titles were going up and up and up and scaring the bejesus out of you.
Yeah,
Right.
this was probably around the same time that I was scared by credits. And worth noting for VeggieTales, the credits do not scroll; they are
Thank God.
cards.
Yeah, it's very
But
calming.
The scene is played pretty straight. And Mel Brooks has captured that 1930s horror aesthetic so well. And there is a tension that builds up, and he drops this gross brain on the ground, and the jar breaks, and he grabs, Abby Normal. And I remember asking my dad to change the channel because I was getting too scared of Young Frankenstein.
Well, the other thing that makes this work is that Junior is adorable.
Yes.
And a lot of that has to do with Lisa Vischer's performance of Junior.
Yeah, it's not cloying.
Lisa Vischer can just play a child in a way that I think a lot of adult actors can sometimes struggle with.
Yes.
She gets the fact that they're a little rebellious and also scared all the time.
But he doesn't know anything at all that's going on, to a point that's like legible for even the little kids watching VeggieTales. They're like, oh, this kid's way too scared of stuff.
Right.
This kid doesn't know what's going on. He has a little moment where he hallucinates his family photo, and again, doing a great job of making something that's not going to be super scary, like the door knocker in A Muppet Christmas Carol, which did scare a lot of kids. The family just grows little Frankenstein bolts. And I'm sure some people did get scared of that when they were kids.
Where was God at that time?
For the most part, they have controlled this so that it's not going to freak little children out.
Right. So Junior runs into his bedroom.
That's right.
And that was the point that Phil Vischer decided he needed to hire other animators because he single-handedly animated everything before that moment.
Yeah. Averaging about 12 seconds a day, which feels kind of impressive to me. That sounds actually like quite a lot. But
well, particularly when you consider how long it took to render shit at that point.
Yeah.
But this was like July, and they needed this out by December.
Sure.
So he was like, holy shit, I got to bring on other folks.
He had to bring on other people, but they couldn't afford another workstation. So it was just the one workstation worked on by 3 people in shifts, nonstop. They're so lucky that thing didn't just like break down on them. They never turned it off.
I mean,
that reminds me of the story of Cyan before Mist came out. Same kind of thing where those Macs are fucking expensive, or at least they were back then.
Fucking were. Yeah.
Very cheap now.
Yes, so cheap.
That's right. Computer's very
so
it's
cheap.
only getting
you guys.
cheaper.
Well, that computer is very cheap now.
Oh,
To have
that
a lot
is
of
true,
space,
yeah,
you're right.
It doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
A Macintosh Quadra, pretty affordable.
Yeah, finally.
So Bob and Larry actually drop down from the ceiling of Junior's bedroom.
Which is scarier than anything else that happens in
Actually,
this episode.
Bob drops down from the ceiling, Larry pops out of the toy box, and
Oh, that's true. Yes.
it is a little scary, but you know what? Honestly, the thing it reminded me of most is Mike and Sully in Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
They must have watched that. They were taking influence from a lot of movies.
I think there is genuinely a non-zero chance that somebody at Pixar watched
almost
this.
certainly.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
this had. I mean, if you were in the industry paying attention to other CGI studios going around, somebody at Pixar was definitely aware of what was going on in Chicago. Yeah, for sure.
And this scene is chock full of gags, too. Like, Larry pops out of the toy box. He's got a bonnet on sideways. Bob sees a ball that is rolling across the floor, and he's really cranky because Larry's the one who displaced it.
Yep.
He's just tracking it across the floor with his eyes. It's always giving the viewer a reason to feel secure and okay.
Yeah.
And then Bob and Larry start singing him a little song.
So many possible
Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.